I had two main kind of categories that I was going to talk about. So reducing mental strain, I'm going to talk about one specific strategy for that. It's not the only strategy. It's just one that I ended up coming up with as I was trying to get better, trying to get good. We'll start off with number one though. So this can be an issue for a good amount of people. I guess I can't really say for everyone. I think depending on how you put together your game plan, how you basically choose to enter a bracket, what your mindset is, and how you actually play can put a certain amount of kind of mental strain or like exhaustion on yourself. If you handle it well, then you can kind of play your best throughout the whole set or whole day. But I know that there's definitely people who will get kind of strain or exhaustion from having to basically focus for so long. It is still something, it's a problem in the sense that if you can't play, your best, then it is going to affect results, let's say. And you want to try and figure out a way to address it, how to make it less of an issue. Autopilot's usually the best way to try and address this. Basically, that kind of reduces the burden so that you can just focus on, say, like habits or flow of the game, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it takes a lot of pre-thinking ahead of time. It does require having a pretty solid understanding of the game as well too, and what the things that you'd like to go for, whatever combo routes you'd like to pursue. Let's just say that you'd rather try and find a different way to deal with it. I refer to this as two-mode play. So basically the idea is, let's say you're in a situation where you don't think that you're playing particularly well, or maybe you're just trying to save energy. I generally end up employing this myself if I'm concerned that I'm not playing 100%. It's important to be able to kind of self-reflect and understand what your, skill level is on a given day. Like, how good are you playing relative to your peak? Because it's going to affect the things that you maybe should be going for, or maybe it's going to affect your ability to convert when an opportunity presents itself. We'd obviously love to be playing our peak at all times, but it's very finicky. You might not have the greatest sleep, maybe you're not in the best headspace, but either way, it's there and you have to deal with it. If you need like 100% of your, or you need 100% ability, or if you need to be playing very well for you to convert with like what you would consider like your optimal routes, let's say. If you're not at that level, does it make sense to be trying for them? It's like if you think that it's more likely than not, or pretty high chance that something is going to go wrong, is it something that you should be going for? Maybe it doesn't sound necessarily nice to hear it that way, but it's sort of keeping it real with yourself. Or there should be alternatives for it, so that if, for example, no, I'm not playing my best and I need to figure out a different way to do it because I'm not going to hit the certain conversions that I want, I still need to get a punish when an opportunity presents itself. The two modes, so to speak, will be as follows. And basically, the goal of using this strategy in general is just to keep the skill floor consistent. So essentially, I'll have a minimum, ability. If I'm messing up all of my stuff and I'm not properly converting, that's going to punish me very badly in a set, because maybe I won't get any damage, or maybe I will get barely anything. And I could have just gone for something that was way simpler. It might not have been the optimal thing, but maybe that is what I'm good at right now. Or maybe that is what I'm good for right now. Going all out per se may not be the best play. So what are the two modes? Number one, basically kind of what you might expect, full technical prowess, is more prone to tech clubs or misinputs. It depends though. There are some strings that are very simple, and in that respect, that's not necessarily where this would apply as much, but there are routes where you have to have the proper drift, proper timing, got to get your fast falls in, let's say. Maybe it's got to be very well spaced so that it properly connects, maybe with a sweet spot hit. And sometimes these situations, especially longer strings, can be a little bit harder to set up, or might need specific situations. Maybe there's situations that you're not picking up on well. Second option is low maintenance. This is the other one, so simpler and easier to land strings. I will give some examples of Pit, for example, just to show you a little bit of the switch between the two. They're often lower damage, not necessarily, but again, you're basically trading off the, let's say, damage output, optimal damage, for consistent damage. You can do the same thing, for example, with kill confirms, let's say. It can be a neutral. If your neutral is very heavily based around, let's say, fine-tuned movements, you need, say, like wave bounces, or you need specific movement tech to help you actually properly play neutral, but none of that is working, then you still have to make something happen because neutral is going to be played regardless, right? Whether you're ready or not. We'll see who the character is. Who is the character of the game? Link. Okay, cool. So let's just take my bread and butter for example. My standard, let's say, combo that I love to get at 0% is just a simple down throw, down air, nair. I messed it up there. I messed it up again. Okay, there we go. Voila. Does 30%. That's pretty cool. I like that. I could also alternatively do something like down throw, up tilt, and then nair. It's a little bit different. I can also do down throw, up smash. I will come back to that option. As you can see though, I'm not having a very good time doing this. Basically the reason I might like to do nair like that is because I could go for a reset or whatnot. Might not necessarily be true, but in this case here, for example, the reason why I might consider it is because it can work. Even if not, I could just go for something like that, maybe even follow up with another, like a fair afterwards. So there's quite a bit of value to it, but requires a little bit more on the side of reading drift, let's say, or whatnot on the down throw, so that I actually get the up tilt properly. And then up smash is the last one. So if I'm not feeling confident in a punish, basically I pummel a lot in my grabs. At low percent or 0%, doesn't make much sense to pummel because they can break out. If I see an incoming kind of punish that's going to happen for me, and I'm not feeling confident that, like, you know, maybe I won't get the dare properly, like I won't get my full hop out, or I'll get like a spike hit, or whatever the case, something might not work out the way that I want it to, then I'll opt basically for a softer punish on it. And I mean, it's not to say that this is necessarily profound, but the idea of it is if you can tell that you're having an off day, that this might be something that you need to think about more. What is the easier punish in situational? What is the easier play for you to do, right? If I do down throw up smash, I'm doing 23%, which isn't 30%. I lose basically, I guess, 7%-ish here. So that is a decent amount. Still sets up into like a decent situation in that I still could sort of attempt to do something after the fact. I'm not going to get my optimal damage. That's one example there. Other sort of things that I like to do a lot is maybe in neutral, let's say, movement becomes very important for Pit, and he has to stay very grounded. He's typically going to try and whiff punish if he can. On reaction, I usually like to try and spend a little bit more time on doing like slingshot fair, that sort of stuff. Have to use a lot of aerial drift to space around moves and position myself properly. If I'm feeling off on that though, then I might try and do it a little bit more, kind of more consistent or safer, easier to input neutral. So I mean, I might still do similar options like slingshot fair or whatnot myself, but the difference being that maybe I'm just going to throw it out there, or I'm going to do it retreating, so that if someone ends up dashing into the range, they're still going to get hit by it, but it's not putting as much burden on me to convert. Where this sort of would reduce the mental strain in the sense is because they are going to be simpler combos or simpler options. You're going to not have to focus as much on the input side. And like I said, because I pummel a little bit during grabs, let's say if it's a grab combo, if you're at a little bit higher percent, sometimes you do have the time to decide between would I like a softer punish or harder punish. At low percent or 0%, you might not get that. The only other one that's like the main one, I guess, yeah, I'll show it real quick. With Wolf, at lower percents, I find that sometimes I'm going to miss down throw, or on some characters, down throw dash tech just doesn't work properly because they can land on the ground and shield in time. If I'm ever feeling like I'm not going to be getting proper input for whatnot, I'll just do a different route, like up throw, let's say, which is a lot easier for me personally. Or otherwise, maybe if I'm looking for specific combos and I'm trying to really figure out what I should be going for, and I'm trying to hit fair bear or something, and I'm not quite hitting it right. Well, again, those interactions are happening and you're not able to convert on them. you do also have to think about the flip side too, about what if it does go wrong. This is particularly why this issue of like tech flubs or misinputs does matter, because mispunishes can be devastating. You might have to commit very hard to a specific punish in order for it to actually work, and missing it both takes away damage from the advantageous situation, but you can also be getting counter hit too as a result, right? There's a cost to failing it. It could also throw you out of position, let's say. If it's something where you have to lift off the ground and they pass through you and now they're grounded, you have to still land, and you might have just sort of turned it into a pseudo juggle situation. It's problematic, but it highlights that you need to have the skill to recognize your current level when you enter a bracket. How are you playing? And it's not to say that it will stay the same the whole way through. It might change, but you want to have a good idea of that sort of thing, because you want to play within your limits, and if you can do that, it's going to help you prepare for like as much success as you can do on that given day. And yeah, like I said, we aim for our damage to be optimal. These other combo routes might not necessarily be optimal in comparison. They might do less damage. You can think about the pit stuff, but it's consistent damage, and it's still going to be good in that respect. Might take an extra interaction or something to close out the stock. Additionally, if you do have strong advantage state, then you also can push advantage state even if the follow-up isn't necessarily true. If you have very good positioning or whatnot, if you've set up that interaction where now you can chase someone, you can still take advantage of it through positioning, and you might not get a true follow-up in the same way that your optimal string might have, but you can still convert on it. It still might be able to take stocks or whatnot, but you have to make it happen. Always sucks when you're feeling super hot in friendlies and then bust her out in bracket. Yeah, definitely there's that too. Does depend on that front. I mean, sometimes that can be a bit more of a mentality thing in terms of like pressure. You can have a pretty good pretty good day in terms of how you're playing, but just have a really bad bracket. That happens too, where it's like, I felt like I was playing pretty good, but apparently not. You could also have brackets where you felt like you were playing really bad and did really well still. So lots of variables in there. I think overall, we're typically trying to play as close to our peak as possible. And so if you have a tournament, if you have a bad result at a tournament, for example, but you felt like you were playing your best, then you have to take away the positives from that, and you have to take away the learning points that help you to be better next time. And yeah, pretty much you have to try and maximize that. You have to try and improve it so that your ceiling can be as high as possible, that you can play close to your ceiling. You know, playing enough of that is basically going to give you the best results that you can ask for, if that makes sense. This is one sample method of like, reduce a bit of exhaustion, opt for something that's a little bit simpler, reflect on yourself, how you're doing today. Are you up to the task of what your character asks of you? I also might sometimes play a specific character if I feel like maybe I'm not playing 100% technically. Like for example, if I'm not feeling 100% with Wii Fit, I probably am not going to go Wii Fit that day, because what'll happen for me is I'll occasionally have my habits really come through and creep through while I'm playing Wii Fit. I start doing kind of a bad autopilot. So in that case, then it makes a lot more sense for me to do Pit, where things are a lot more refined. I guess a somewhat similar situation where this might come through as well for me as it would be with Wii Fit. I end up going for a lot of platform tech chase stuff as well too, because if I hit it, it's quite beneficial for me. Let's say I get them on the platform and I do a side B. That was just one hitbox and it did 22%. If I do it with both hitboxes, I might be able to do a little bit more. Maybe that one wasn't necessarily true, but you get the picture, I think. Do I use the simpler mode on purpose to save mental strain when I get the feeling that it would be enough? Yeah, I'll do that too. If, for example, like, there's one of two options, or maybe could be multiple options that'll still achieve the same thing. Let's say it's like taking a stock, then I'm gonna probably narrow it down and select what's gonna be the easiest way to do it. What's gonna be really simple. If I have the option of, I don't know, down throw up air versus forward throw, I will just forward throw. But that's a specific example, that might be a little bit obvious. But in other words, yeah, if there's something that will do the same thing, then I definitely would be down to just do the simpler option. A reason why you might want to do a different option could be trying to mix up your opponent. If, for example, if it's more of like a 50-50 situation, or something where the next time they might be more prepared for the setup, whatever starts it. And if you decide then, okay, well, I want to make sure that they're not aware of this option that I have yet, then you might hide it and use it later. For the down throw there, if you saw, it obviously gives me a pretty decent amount of damage if I actually hit it properly. If not, though, if I'm worried that, I don't know, I'm not going to hit it properly, then I might just opt for the true punish instead. So, for example, like mid-percent, I can do up throw up air. As you can see, very bad. Okay, there we go. I did it once. But yeah,